in my opinion, bro, I'm a revolutionary optimist, bro. You know what I'm saying? With all the things that are going on in the world, bro. And it almost seems like when you go on the internet, it seems like nobody cares, that things are kind of fucked for society. I don't even think it's that we're scared. It's just more of like people are too comfortable here in America. You know what I'm saying? To like go out and to actually make a change. You know what I mean? They're conforming to the now because when it comes, I mean, revolutions can lead very bad things to very bad things, bro. Like there have been a lot of revolutions throughout history, and they ended up making things go even worse down the line. You know what I'm saying? But we got ourselves why Gen Z can't start a revolution. I don't know. This appeared on my feed, my feed, bro. It looked very interesting. Let's see what's going on, man.
On November 9th, 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall
1989.
marked one of the most dramatic moments of political change in modern history. For nearly 3 decades, the wall had divided the city of Berlin and symbolized the broader ideological split of the Cold War between the Soviet-aligned East Germany and the democratic West Germany. But in the
Okay.
months leading up to its collapse, hundreds of thousands of East Germans began protesting across the country, especially in the weekly Monday demonstrations in Leipzig, demanding freedom to travel and democratic reforms. As the
Okay.
protests grew and the government struggled to contain them, officials announced that travel restrictions would be lifted. Within hours, massive crowds gathered at the wall, and overwhelmed border guards eventually opened the checkpoints. People climbed onto the concrete barrier and began chipping pieces away with hammers. Over the
What the fuck? Nah, bro, this is crazy, bruh.
following months,
Actually,
large sections of the wall were dismantled, as the East German government collapsed under the pressure of mass, but largely peaceful, protests. When we
Nice.
reflect on protests or revolts or movements of the past, we tend to view them as something tangible, something that genuinely sparked the change that protesters wanted to see. Sure, the past is littered with stories of protesters who tried and failed, but success stories like this were happening almost any time the people of a nation or state got so fed up with the current regimes that they felt like they had no other choice but to act. Today, I'd argue that most people feel hopeless and that there's nothing we can effectively do to revolt against.
I don't believe that though. I genuinely don't believe that though. Like, I feel like, you know, brother, I mean, this country is already in the down spiral regardless, right? Like, there's not much us Gen Zers have to do. The shit's already coming down. You know what I mean, right? But yeah, bro. I mean, I wouldn't say it's hopeless though. Like, I've been seeing like tons of like protests going around the country and shit. Trust me, bro. People tripped over the whole Black Lives Matter shit, the whole like, what's that other shit? The No Kings protest. Them shits were massive, bro. As much as they like to like downplay it and shit because they want you to think that nothing is gonna get better. That's just how these elites do this shit, bro. They try to make it seem like things are hopeless when I don't think so, bruh. I think like history always repeats itself. You know what I mean? Like that's all I gotta say, right? Like
The
with that.
obviously evil forces of authoritarian governments and big tech corporations. But what if I told you that was their intention all along? Some of the greatest minds of previous generations predicted this, that we would become so sedated with entertainment and information that all we would do is complain among ourselves instead of gaining class consciousness. So in this video, I want to explain how we got here.
I agree that that is partly what the case is, yeah, though. Like, we've gotten so comfortable and so docile that, like, people don't really know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, but, as time goes on, you're going to see more people protest, and more people protest. You're going to see more people speaking on it to the point where nobody can run away from it. And then we'll have no choice but to act. It'll eventually get to that point. At least that's what I think.
Why it feels like every protest or revolt is ineffective, and what it might actually take to start seeing the change that most of us want to see in the world. There's a phrase that dates all the way back to around 100 AD, attributed.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I bet you people felt the same way with all the other revolutions that happened in the past, though, too. Like, that's just, you know what I mean? Like,
the Roman poet Juvenal, bread and circuses. In
Oh,
the
yeah.
Roman Empire, rulers used
Bread and
massive public
circuses.
entertainment like gladiator contests and chariot races, along with free grain to keep citizens happy and prevent civil unrest.
Yep.
Seeing what was
to distract the people. Like our government, they wage wars and they throw propaganda to distract you from what's really going on. You know what I mean? Like, look, Iran war. You look, Epstein's fury. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But I've noticed, like, I've been seeing a lot of people like say like, oh, it's a revolution is tempting, and I know like, you know, all talk but no bark. There is that too, right? But like I said, like eventually I feel like everybody has came to the agreement that there needs to be a revolution. I see it all over the internet. I hear it in public. Like it's not something that nobody cares about. Like I think it's just like social media dumbs it down. The elites, the top one, the Epstein, the Illuminati, whatever the fuck you want to call these weird ass niggas. They push out propaganda and they release bots to make it seem like nobody cares or oh, the elites are too powerful. They'll get away with whatever. Like you know what I mean? Right? Like that's just how you know what I mean? That's just how I see it, bro.
Going on, Juvenal used the term as a negative metaphor to explain what happens when citizens sedate themselves with pleasure and comfort.
Like I said, this shit has happened in the past before, but even with the Roman Empire, like, didn't they have a revolution? Right? Like,
As he puts it in Satire X, the people that once bestowed commands, consulships, legions, and all else now concerns itself no more, and longs eagerly for just two things: bread and circuses. Learning from writings like these and comparing them to his own time period,
let them eat cake, let them eat lobster.
English writer and philosopher Aldous Huxley warned citizens about the danger of too much pleasure, updated for the modern age in his 1923 essay, Pleasures, published in Vanity Fair. I highly recommend everyone watching this to read that short essay, but I'm just going to pull the most important and relevant passages
Yeah, just pull it out, bro. I ain't reading all that shit, bro.
from that to keep this video succinct. Huxley begins his essay by clarifying the enemy of our restlessness and depression. The dangers which confront our civilization are not so much the external dangers, wild men, wars, and the bankruptcy that wars bring after them. The most alarming dangers are those which menace it from within, that threaten the mind rather than the body and estate of contemporary man. In other words, like I've said in previous videos, the wars our generation are fighting are less physical, although that statement holds a bit less weight at the moment, and more spiritual than anything else. Modern pleasures have gotten, quote, progressively more imbecile, such that actually using our brains to accomplish important tasks is almost entirely optional. Huxley observed this over a century ago now. He argued that distractions used to require at least a baseline level of intellectual effort and passion. Okay. For example, in the 17th century, royal families would listen to sermons and academical disputes regarding theology and metaphysics. The common people engaged in the exercise of a certain intelligence too. Their form of entertainment included intricate plays, and they were able to comprehend works like Othello and Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Huxley also explains how peasants went through traditional rites like dances and ceremonies. As he puts it, their pleasures were intelligent and alive, and it was they who, by their own efforts, entertained themselves. Now, the majority of the pleasures we engage with are less participatory and more passive. For Huxley's generation, this meant things like the gramophone, otherwise known as a record player, the press, where news was filled with democratized information that did not require much thinking, and watching sports rather than playing them. It's pretty funny that Huxley and other thinkers at the time saw people using a record player as something that was making them dumber, and it just goes to show that there is a bit of nuance with this, that not all advancements in technology making things easier, like listening to music, is necessarily damaging like Huxley seemed to have thought it was, and that's where I would disagree. Like, I do think just a little bit of what he was saying was basically, oh, anything that makes something easier and more accessible is poison to the mind, but I do think he really does hit on a few great points for contemporary entertainment. Today, the smartphone has combined just about every single form of pleasure and entertainment you could think of into a pocketable device that we keep with us at all times. This has a myriad of negative consequences, of course. Social media makes us depressed and anxious, burnt out, and disrupts our sleep. Any sexual fantasy—
That is 100% a fact, bro. That is 100% a fact, bro. Like we just got it. Like, I feel like people, sometimes you just gotta take a break and just go outside, go for a walk or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, go spend time with family. You know what I mean? Or just stay off of social media. Go watch a movie or some shit, bro. Just something to keep you from, you know, You get what I mean, bro.
You desire is at your fingertips.
Oh,
There's
my
not a
bad.
one-to-one connection between you and the necessities of life because it's all been streamlined for convenience. These are all things that I've talked about at length on this channel, right? But what I want to talk about specifically is what happens to our ability to revolt when we drown ourselves in mindless stimulation. Firstly, social media encourages what I would call a portrayal of bad stuff to bad stuff actually happening pipeline. We tend to read more about bad news than good news because we're wired to seek negative information, so the
Yeah.
algorithms reflect that, and we feel bad and powerless about what's happening in the world that may or may not.
But it's designed to be this way, though. It's legit designed to be this way. It's to keep you in this mental trap. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? Like that's what this is. It's a spiritual battle, bro. It's a mental battle. You know what I mean? You just can't, don't let the negative shit get in your head, bro. Like, don't forget, like history always repeats itself. We see it all the time, bro. Eventually there will be another revolution. You're already seeing people protest. You're already seeing massive protest today. Just look how massive they're gonna get by November, right? By beginning of next year. Just see how massive those are gonna get. You're gonna be like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. People actually care, like, you know what I mean. That's just how I see it, bro. Don't let this whole like shit, get you like I always hear people say this shit like this. They're like, "Oh, nobody cares," or people are just gonna sit back and do nothing. Which the whole like people being docile shit is kind of true, but it's just like eventually there will be civil unrest. Like there already is civil unrest. There has been civil unrest in America. You know what I mean? It's only a matter of time to where it gets to enough if it is enough and people rise up. That's just how it is, bro.
Be portrayed accurately. Then we go and talk to our friends about it. If we can't find any sort of mutual agreement about happy stuff happening in the world, at least we can all agree that the world sucks right now, right? Well, then that inevitably is going to affect the mood that we carry into our real life interactions.
True.
We think things are really bad, partly because they actually are, but also partially because we're fed an immensely unnatural amount of bad stuff, so things
Get off the fucking internet and go for a walk.
actually do get
Holy
worse.
shit.
This cycle repeats itself indefinitely.
If you're seeing,
until
bro, if you're seeing clips like this on the internet, bro, nothing ever gets better. Everything got worse and worse every day. Bro, if you're seeing video, bro, I promise you this is CIA made, bro. The CIA made this shit, bro. Like, I guarantee you, most people are like you and I. People are going to revolt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna fucking happen, bro. Do not let the internet brainwash you into thinking that nobody cares, bro. Like, genuinely, people do care, bro. If people didn't care, people would not be watching this video. Like, that's just the fucking reality, bro. You know what I mean? The fact that people are aware of it already shows that there's people out there who want change. You know what I mean? Don't let this negative doomer fucking shit get in your fucking head, bro.
So things actually do get
These elites, like, they're fucking pussy, bro. They are not powerful. They are a bunch of fat, morbidly obese PDF files. They are fucking losers, bro. Like,
worse.
holy shit.
This cycle repeats itself indefinitely until a force strong enough to change it steps in, but that force rarely gets the opportunity to step in due to the second reason that social media affects our revolts, which is something that I already briefly touched upon, which is emotional numbness through overstimulation. You see, there's something very powerful that happens when we don't fill up every ounce of free time we have with doom scrolling. When you don't consume a podcast with headphones on every single time you step outside for a walk, when you don't scroll while your water bottle is filling up, when you don't default to TikTok or Instagram Reels every time something bad happens in your life to escape the reality of that bad thing, patterns in your life start to emerge. Problems once thought to be unsolvable slowly figure themselves out in your head when you allow your mind space to breathe. When you give your brain time to process the amount of stimuli you consumed in 2 hours that would have been enough to kill a Victorian child, you start to realize something. You start to realize, wait a second, there actually are tangible ways out of this shitty situation. And come to think of it, I'm actually enraged that I'm in this situation in the first place. And what are the forces that be, the systemic issues that are causing me to feel so shitty? As much as some people might disagree, anger and being completely fed up with Where you are and how the world works is often the only way to get pushed to the point where people will actually start to do something that
But it's already getting to that point though. Like that's the thing. It's already at that point. you know. But anytime I see negative posts on the internet where they try to make you feel like nothing's ever gonna get better, I assume that it's the top 1% Epstein. Like these people, they own all the social media platforms. They literally own TikTok, they own Twitter, they own, I don't know if they own YouTube yet, but like, bro, it's designed, bro, by these same people. And you know it's not working because you see the people in the comments literally looking at the shit like, what is the CIA propaganda? Get this shit off my fucking screen. Like, you just got to react to it and look at it and say, you know what? Yes, things might be bad, but I guarantee you 9 out of 10, nobody is sitting around making doomer ass fucking videos. Oh, the elites, they're always gonna get away with this. Nobody's fucking in their spare time is making videos like that, bro. Nobody, bro. You're out of your fucking mind, bro.
elicits positive change. And that cannot happen if you are heavily sedated through modern forms of escapism like social media, pornography, and a video game addiction. I'm not against video games, by the way, but they are very easy to get addicted to and slip into for hours and hours at a time to just escape a shitty situation that you might have the power to change. The next thing that this pleasure, specifically social media, has spread is this collective view that
Me personally, I think anything and too much of anything is bad. So like, you could play video games, bro. Like, you could chill a little bit, bro. You know what I mean? You know, but it's just too much of anything. You just gotta limit it. Like, oh, I've been on the game all night. Maybe I should go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be aware of like, okay, maybe I'm doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I should take a step back. You know, stuff like that.
protesting and demonstrating, getting yourself out there in that way is inherently performative or just seen as a virtue signal. Now, there's undoubtedly a lot of influencers out there who post about some tragedy that's happened in the world, not to raise awareness, but to act like they give a shit.
Just wanted to come on here and say I do stand for what's right, and what's right now is Black lives do matter, and white people do have white privilege. So it's unfortunate, but fill the comments with a fist and spread the positivity.
Oh yeah, hold on. This nigga don't give a fuck about none of that shit, bro. 100% he don't. There's nothing wrong with spreading awareness, no, but like, you know, you could tell this nigga's fake, bro.
Love. Let's go.
But I fear that social media has
Hey guys, just go down in the comments, guys, or just type how much you hate Donald Trump, bro. Like, you know, put up the orange man ugly. I don't fucking know, bro. Like, come on, bro.
turned the act of revolting into something that is seen as cringeworthy or too try-hard in nature.
Bro, if you think that protesting is corny or anything like that, bro, you genuinely you are probably, bro, I don't know, bro. You a lame ass nigga, bro. That's how I really, you know, you just a lame ass nigga, bro. This is not tough. Oh, sorry, hold on. This is not tough, son. You are not in a movie. Like, bro. Like, people like this, bro. Like I said, we not worried. These niggas that make videos like this, they are a bunch of loser ass niggas, bro. They are fucking losers. They sit at home and do nothing. Okay? They don't have a job. They beat their dicks all day. Or they finger themselves all day. And no, bro, these people are fucking losers. I guarantee you the nigga who made this shit is fat, morbidly obese, and living in his mom's basement. Please shut the fuck up, bro.
If you do actually care, it's often automatically labeled as performative because the way protests and other forms of revolt are portrayed on social media is usually through the lens of comedy, memes, or insults. Something adjacent to this that really grinds my gears.
But the thing is like, I guarantee you it is designed to be rigged like that, to make it seem like, you know, it's performative and nobody really cares. In reality, there's like millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people around the country that are literally protesting. You know what I'm saying?
These days is when people say they aren't political. I'm not gonna lie, up until like a few years ago, this was kind of me. I thought caring about politics was just another psyop that didn't really change anything, and you're just trying to make yourself seem right. And I'm sure there's a lot of that, but like,
I agree. I would agree for like a very long time. Like I was like, you know, like I don't really care about politics, like da 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 da. But then when you look on how things really, like once I became an adult, I had no choice but to pay attention to politics. You know what I mean? Like And it's not even like a left versus right stupid ass shit. Get that shit out of here, bro. But it's just like it's just being aware of what's going on in the world, and being aware like, hey, like things are getting bad. If I don't, like we all know that the American dollar is cooked, bro. Say goodbye to American dollar, bro. We all know this shit's cooked, bro. We all know that the global American empire is cooked, bro. Say goodbye to that shit, bro. All I can do is get prepared for it. You know what I mean? Right? That's just, you know what I mean? Like being aware of what's going on, you could predict and know what's to come and to be ready for that. You know what I mean? Whatever it is.
Everybody is political, okay? The whole
Yeah.
thing about not being political is a psyop. The fact that you think you cannot be political about something, and I'm not saying I agree with the two-party system. I think it is,
It's stupid as
it's not a
fuck.
good system, but saying you are not political is the psyop. Saying you don't care about politics.
Honestly, at this point, to choose to not care about politics, you are mentally fucking retarded. I'm just gonna say that, bro. You literally do not care about yourself if you do not pay attention, or at least not what is not going on in the world. Like genuinely, you know what I mean. I'm not saying you gotta like be a Democrat or Republican or no dumbass shit. I'm just saying just be aware of what's going on because this shit affects you and everybody else. We all live in the same country, and if you know what I mean, like everybody's freedom and rights are getting taken away. You know what I mean? Like, we all see it. And choosing to ignore it is choosing to not do anything about it. Choose to like you just don't care about your life at that point. You know what I mean? Like that's you know what I mean? But let me stop yapping, bro.
And being fed up with the world is a contradiction.
Yeah, man, I'm not really too big on politics, but anyways, let me tell you about how much I hate my job, my boss, my landlord, my shitty health insurance, my student loans, my city's
Yeah.
public transportation, the fact that I come home too tired to do anything after work every day, the fact that groceries cost double.
And it's designed that way. It's to keep you tired, to keep you from wanting to revolt, to wanting to go to the protest. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, it's designed to be this way. It's designed to keep you down. You know what I mean? Like, look at the idea of a credit score. Oh, your credit's bad. That means that you're broke and you can't do nothing. Like that in itself, it's rigged like that to keep you in a bad mindset. That is how the people in our government have rigged it. The top 1% have rigged it. They've rigged it to keep you in a bad mental state. All you got to do at this point, you don't even got, like, yeah, go to a protest if you want to, you know what I'm saying? But like I think like just viewing the bad things of what's going on, and as long as we all are aware of it and we all have the same common enemy, and we choose to do something about it, whether it's just to help with our personal lives or whatever, or with the protest and whatever, like doesn't matter, like just do it. Just being aware, you already are ahead of a lot of the people who don't care about politics. You're already ahead of them because you know what's to come. Like you know what I mean? It's so I'm not really into politics. To me, means that you choose to ignore, what's going to like you're basically choosing to be a black pill doomer. Like you're just choosing to hate yourself. You're choosing to not want a better future for yourself and for your kids and your grandkids and your grandkids, because this doesn't affect you. This affects the people after you. You know what I mean? That's how I see it, bro.
What they used to, the fact
My
that no
bad.
one can afford a home, the fact that my rent eats half of my paycheck, the endless wait times at the hospital, and how depressing the news always is. But yeah, man, I'm just not really big on politics.
Trust me, big government loves hearing you say stuff like that because it
Hell yeah.
reinforces another reason why we all complain but nothing actually changes: the extreme divide between the average citizen. We've gotten to the point where sharing different opinions from someone is immediately labeled as wrong and a threat to another person because productive dialogue is simply incompatible on these platforms that encourage rage baiting and quick, incomplete hits of misinformation. Everybody thinks they have the true, objective, correct answer to all of society and the world's problems, and nobody
Bro, you cannot fix the world's problem by yourself. We have to come together as one.
wants to
Holy
listen to
shit.
anyone else's
Regardless of our
solution
differences.
that doesn't confirm their pre-existing beliefs. Getting into useful debates and discussions that actually promote some sort of change requires some of that space that I talked about earlier. It requires you to sit, think, and conceptualize your argument, to strengthen it and articulate it in a good way without immediately saying, this thing bad, this thing good. And instead of collectively coming together to fight our common enemy, big tech and authoritarian governments, we start blaming trivial matters like minorities or other.
It's the immigrants. It's black people. It's their fault. It's these people. It's like, bro, like, bro. Oh, it's the people of Iran. They yell dead to America because we've been fucking them out of their resources for the past 60 years. Of course, they want us fucking dead. Like, just it's crazy, dude. It's really not that hard to see that it is designed to keep us arguing with each other. It does not matter what your party or what your ideology or what religion you fucking believe in. All that matters is that we all live on the same piece of fucking land, dude. Holy shit.
People who don't look or think like us. Like, I
Oh
promise
my
you, dude,
God.
the reason that you get paid pennies for your 9 to 5 and you come home miserable and goon for 1 hour isn't because your favorite hockey team is celebrating Pride Month. That is exactly the type of thing that these big corporations want you to get.
Hey, bruh.
Mad at, because
Literally.
it keeps us fighting among each other
Yes.
instead of coming together. And social media has been an incredible tool.
And the reality is that most people are like this guy and myself. Like, you watch this video, most people, like 90% of the population know this. It's really a small minority of people that are arguing with each other. That's the whole crazy part. It's really like a small minority. People keep on saying, oh, all these Trump supporters, there's so many Trump supporters out there. No, the fuck there's not. I bet you like only 5 to 10% of the population actually supports Trump. Like, you know, not even just Trump, but just what's going on in our government in general, Democrat or Republican, because we all know they're on the same fucking team. That's why nothing ever gets done. You know, oh, we signed a bill to make it so that ICE agents, they got to take off their masks. They're still wearing masks. Why is that? It's because it's an act. It's a show. It's to keep you distracted. There is no left versus right. It's just one big group of people and you're not invited. That's all this is. It's so easy to see that, bro. But so many people who got duped by our current president and the current government, they choose to like not accept that they got duped, and so they stay in this cult ritual mindset. And this is, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, it's ridiculous, man, bro.
For reinforcing that division. And I'm not saying that entertainment itself is the enemy. Humans have been entertaining themselves since the dawn of time to escape the hardships of life. Like, we always are going to need a temporary bout of escapism in some healthy form to keep going in life, man. Like, sometimes we need to forget who we are and escape into some form of entertainment. That's a really important aspect of life. It's these contemporary forms of entertainment and spectacle that are psychologically designed to keep you scrolling, exhausted, distracted, and angry that are the problem. And this is why I feel most of our efforts to create—
Hey, it's the transgenders, y'all. They're the reason why you're living in a fucking trailer park. It's the transgenders, man. It's their fault, you know. People are so fucking dumb, bro. Oh my
meaningful
God.
change in the world fall short. These new forms of entertainment have made it feel like no matter what we do or no matter how hard we try, nothing is going to change, so the safest thing to do is retreat back into the comfort of distraction. Now we scroll, we laugh at the absurdity of it all, we complain to our friends, and then we move on to whatever next video, outrage, or algorithm the feed presents us with, blaming our circumstances on things that have nothing at all to do with them, confusing and dividing us even further. So how do we actually start moving shit in a positive direction? If forces we can't see or hear that are unreachable, yet we know are there, are intentionally making the lives of the average person more unenjoyable and less stable, how do we break down a Berlin Wall that we cannot see? Well, firstly, and I already stressed this a bit, you have to have the capacity to get emotional enough and fed up enough to actually want to do something about it. Things are going to
True.
feel just okay enough if you keep
Pro-life activist schools, woman on her college dropout jab, Pennsylvania. Teens charged with terrorism for throwing IEDs at anti-Islam protests. Logan Paul's NFT now worth after this. Where is this news coming from? Oh, Twitter. Oh, it's Twitter. Oh, mind you, a PDF file runs that platform, right? And so does TikTok. TikTok has been bought out by Larry. What was it? Larry Ellington's son. You know what I mean? Who is mentioned in the fucking Epstein files, bro? Like, come on, man.
engaging with mindless distraction that either numbs you to the systemic issues you know are affecting you or makes you feel hopeless because a lot of that stimulation is just bad news without any tangible solution. As cringe and cliche as it sounds, problems don't feel like problems until you sit with them in silence. That's why when you lay your head down on the pillow at night, your head won't shut up about everything that's wrong with your current life because it's finally given the space to talk to you about those things. I'm calling myself out here too, by the way. Secondly, there needs to be a greater call to action after awareness. Now, this isn't to say that protesting, getting out there, making some sort of sign.
I think protesting is 100% a good thing to do. You know what I mean? But and I don't think protesting by itself can make any real change. It can only spread. It can only bring awareness to it. Because the more people who are aware of what's going on, the better at the end of the day. And that's really what matters, in my opinion. Because eventually, if you piss off enough people and you push people back into a corner enough, right, you're not going to have no choice but to have a revolution, but to revolt, but to come together, regardless of if you have beef with your neighbor or whatever the fuck it is. It's eventually it will get to that point, man. It just takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Eventually, these people who are implicated with the whole files and all that bullshit, eventually they will get justice. You know what I mean? And even if they don't get justice, there are people under them who work for them. They can receive the fucking justice, bitch. Right? So, bro, in my opinion, bro, I wouldn't stress over, the negative doomer shit. Just focus and just be aware and just, you know what I mean? That's all that matters, bro. Don't forget who the real enemy is. That you know what I mean. That's all we have to do at this point. It's
And making a certain movement more aware is ineffective. It absolutely does raise awareness and brings to light some issues that people maybe weren't even aware of, and then maybe that makes enough of them fed up to actually join in on the movement too. But often there isn't a clear sense of direction or solution after the fact. Another
True.
YouTube creator, Deja, made a great video on this topic where she discussed how protesting actually isn't meant to be the solution. It's only meant to agitate, disrupt, and bring people together. But after the fact, people often just revert back to regular life as if nothing happened.
And then that's the problem too. That's why I said like protesting in itself is not enough. You can I don't know if this is I might be wrong when I'm saying this. You can also do like a strike, don't show up at work, general strike, right? Like you could do that. That's a great thing to do, but in my opinion, that doesn't really work because the top 1%, they own everything already. So you not going to work, that's not really going to affect them. It might scare them, but it's not really going to affect them. The only way, in my opinion, and I know it sounds harsh to say this, and by the way, I just want to let you know I am not suicidal. I know how to drive a car, bitch. Nobody wants me dead. People love me, but it's through revolution, bro. It's through organized revolution. That's the only way we're gonna get out of this situation, bro. Like that's just the reality, bro. This country, when people accept that the United States of America is done for, that's when that'll happen. It's over. It's done. And people already came to that conclusion. It's over, man. It's over for America. The system is it's rigged. It's broken. Like you have to rebuild an entirely new country from scratch at this point. You're not reforming America. That's why like people aren't voting as much. That's why people aren't really putting, people are realizing that it's not that like, bro, people are just realizing how the system is, and we're choosing to find ways to cheat it, which I think is kind of a good fucking thing.
because they're not really sure what to do next. So first, let's just talk about on an individual level, what you can do right now by yourself. Here's what I would tell you to do. Start
to me.
boycotting the shit that you think is ruining the world. You think AI is making people dumber and spreading misinformation?
Don't
Cancel
use
your
it.
ChatGPT subscription. Do you hate seeing these social media companies make millions?
I don't use, hey, look, y'all, I don't use TikTok. I don't use Twitter. I have Twitter, but I don't use it. I don't use, I don't use ChatGPT. I did use it for a little bit. I'm not gonna fucking lie. But like I had to stop. I stopped using that shit. I'm not using it. The only thing that I haven't stopped using is Amazon. I'm not gonna fucking lie, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not perfect. My ass needs to stop using fucking Amazon. That's what I need to stop doing. Start supporting local. You know what I mean?
Off of these 5-second ads in between 20 seconds of scrolling and blasting your retinas with stupid stimulation, then delete the apps or try to use them as little as possible.
Yeah.
Find out all the consumer products that these companies own, which is almost fucking all of them.
See, I mean, I have iPhone, right? But like, I don't want to buy a new iPhone. Like, let's be real. I don't use Netflix. I use Adobe, but that's, I use it for like making thumbnails and shit. I mean, some of these things are unavoidable. I do go to Walmart. It's really hard to find like a local fucking store. Like, it really is. Like, that's why I said like the only way for us to get out of this is through complete destruction of the system and rebuilding an entirely new one. That's the only way at this point. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And yeah, I guess these companies aren't evil, you know what I'm saying? But like I would just say like I wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't say all of them. Like ExxonMobil and Chevron, bruh, them niggas is evil, bruh. Them niggas is evil, bruh. But it's crazy, man.
Try to not engage or buy anything from them as much as is reasonably possible. Secondly, we and you need leverage. Again, this is something Deja emphasized, but power does not accrue from simply getting more and more people to join a movement. You need leverage from people who have the power to actually sustain those movements and enact the changes. A huge part of the reason stuff like labor movements or the civil rights movement and even the fall of the Berlin Wall succeeded in the past was because they negotiated contracts, filed lawsuits, pushed legislation, and built networks that could sustain pressure for years. Mutual aid was also an incredibly important aspect of most of these. When workers went on strike in the early 20th century, they didn't just walk off the job and hope things would work out. They had unions, and those unions built strike funds to help workers pay for food and rent while they weren't receiving wages. They organized community kitchens. Their families supported one another. That's the sort of infrastructure that allows these strikes and protests to last for weeks and months or even years, which is sometimes how long it takes to force these companies or the government to negotiate contracts and actually enact the change. Leverage is what turns this outrage into consequence, because without it, it just runs the risk of being symbolic. It runs the risk of being a movement where people are having awareness raised about this thing and we think, yeah, it's really bad, but no one actually has the power to reach the institutions that are required to reach in order for something to happen. If you're looking for those communities and infrastructures that do possess some of that power, the first place to start is local, and the internet can actually be an incredibly...
literally, going local nowadays is so hard because a lot of them got shut down since like COVID and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, best see that, bro. I try. Hey, man, it's hard. It's hard to go local though. I know, like a local grocery store, it's difficult, and a lot of the local stores they charge more because they have to, especially when you have like tariffs and all that stupid ass fucking shit. It's but I do what you can, bro. Just do what you fucking can, bro. If you see that there's a protest event going on, still go to that protest, bro. You know what I'm saying? There was one here where I live. I be seeing people protesting all the time in the middle of the city and shit. So, like,
useful tool here if you use it with a specific goal in mind instead of just consuming whatever gets thrown at you. Start by searching for organizations in your city that are already working on the issue you care about. If you're sick of housing costs in your city, type out tenant union plus your city into Google. If you're fed up with people in your community struggling to afford basic necessities, search mutual aid plus your city. If you're frustrated with wages, workplace conditions, or job security, search labor union plus your city. Most cities already have some form of these groups, and many of them operate through websites, email lists, or something like Slack or Discord, where they coordinate their real-world action. Another thing you can use the internet for is to identify who actually has influence over the issue you're concerned about. If it's a company, look up their major clients, investors, or partnerships. If it's a local policy, find out which council members or committees are responsible for it. If it's a landlord or development company, see which properties they own and which banks finance them. Then, once you've mapped out who actually holds influence, you have somewhere concrete to direct your attention. As far as eliciting change on a grander scale, trying to take down the ultra-rich, the biggest corporations, you would need some insane level of leverage. But to be honest, those smaller local movements is what influences the larger movements, the more global movements of change. I'm telling you, things are not hopeless in our digitized, hyper-reality, apathetic, overpriced world. I'm sure that you've spent at least some sort of time thinking about a world in which we use all of these technological advancements to benefit the greatest amount of people, and I don't think it's as far off as you might think. You just need to be fucking inspired more on a daily basis, man, to get that juice and that energy to fucking stand up and do something about life. Get involved in something greater than yourself. Join clubs, engage with different forms of art, taste the flavors of life, help a stranger, face your problems instead of escaping them for another day and allowing them to grow worse. I'm gonna sound sappy here, I don't give a shit. You are capable of way more than you could ever imagine, and I truly believe that. If you feel like you are not getting the power that you feel like you deserve in a certain area of life, you need to either create a movement or join a movement with the power to attain that power. Identify the source of your unfulfillment and the people you care about, find the communities, find the pressure points, and start the change. Channel those emotions that you're fucking fed up with shit into something positive. Do not let big tech and authoritarian regimes drain the joy out of human existence. Holding hope and optimism is your greatest act of rebellion against these chuds, and actually doing something about these forces is possible. Everything's gonna be good and cool, but it's probably gonna get at least a little bit worse before things get really cool, but it might not take as much time if you actually do something about it.
What's this guy's channel's name again? Cole Hastings? Right here, bro. Right here. Bro. Yo. That nickel was cooking, bro, for sure. No, in all seriousness, though, I think the whole big thing with all this is that, a lot of the negative things that you see on social media, it's meant to keep you down. It's meant to make it seem like things are hopeless. Like, that's why, like, this guy said, and what I'm saying is, like, bro, it's a spiritual battle, bro. I truly believe that the world can get better. Yes, things will go bad. Yes, there might be a little chaos, right? If you piss off enough people, change will happen. Like, it's just how history always repeats itself. I think the worst thing that anybody could do, though, is like think negative. Like, oh, things are never gonna get better. Oh, these people are never gonna face judgment. Oh, that kind of shit. That thing holds the world back, and that's why whenever I hear people they say like negative shit like that, I tend to just ignore them. Or if you see a negative post or anything like that, like I just assume that it's probably rigged to make it seem like people don't care. You know what I mean? Like, in reality, people do care, bro. People do fucking care, but you like I said, bro, like I think this guy fucking nailed it, bro. You know, call your local union, bro. Yeah. Shit, I need to do that. Seriously, I seriously think I think I should do that. I need to do that. But, I get it though. Like it could seem a little nerve-wracking. It could seem a little like it's a little scary. I admit, like it's easy to think negative. You know what I mean? It's so easy to look at the negatives throughout life, and you know what I mean? Best thing you could do is just be positive and just understand that, things will get a little bit bad before things ever get good. And the more you see people go to these unions, and the more people you see spreading awareness to this shit, the more people are gonna get involved. And that's just one person at a time, bro. So man, bro, this video was fucking good, bro. But I hope you have a good breakfast, a good dinner, good night, man. I know this is usually a different video than what I would react to, but I was very interested in this kind of shit because it's like I really feel like people are losing hope. I don't want to live in a world ran by pedophile losers. I'm just gonna say what the fuck it is, bro. I don't, But I hope you have a good breakfast, a good dinner, a good night, man. I love y'all, man. Peace.